Big game in La Liga today. Sevilla taking on Barcelona. It wouldn't quite live up to its billing. In fact, it would finish goalless, and this would have significant repercussions regarding the title race. Just taking a look at what that now means. When you look at La Liga table, Barca 3 points clear at the top. Real Madrid in second with a game in hand. They're away against Real Sociedad this weekend. We'll talk about that game and the title a little later on. But let's focus first, shall we, on this goalless draw as we welcome in Gab, Marcotti and Julien Laurent. Jules, how would you describe this game?
I thought Barca were poor again. I'm sorry, but we saw them against Mallorca. They won 4-0 and Messi really ran that game, but there was not much more. We saw them against Leganés. They won 2-0 this time. And again, it was very average. And again, without Messi, the whole outcome would have been very different. And then tonight, when Messi can't just make it happen, there's not much else. And yes, they had a couple of chances, and Suarez maybe at the end could have done better on that Jordi Alba cross. But apart from that, I thought it was really poor. And once again, I'm not really sure I understand what Quique Setien tried to do. Why Ansu Fati didn't come on at all. Why is Antoine Griezmann coming on so late, 77th minute in the game? Why on earth is Ivan Rakitic still playing for that team? Why is he even starting? I mean, this goes beyond me. Why Rakitic still has a place in that team when you've got Arthur on the bench, or even Ricky Puig had a good entrance against Leganés, and then to see Rakitic in that team that doesn't make any sense to me.
What was his thought process going into this game? What was this lineup trying to get out of it, Gab?
Well, I mean, I disagree a little bit with Jules. I mean, I think the end result was correct, but what he was trying to do is do what it says on his tin, which is to try and impose the game on the opposition and bring back the passing and movement of old. And I thought, in the first half, especially the first half hour, I thought Barcelona looked pretty sharp, perhaps without creating or without actually, shooting on goal and finalizing what they created. But then, and I think these are some of the limits that we see with Setien when Sevilla changed it around. Lopetegui sent on Ever Banega for, I think it was Oliver Torres at halftime. All of a sudden, it was a much more even game, and they didn't have the adjustment. And Jules is right. Maybe Griezmann could have changed it a little bit if he'd come on earlier. I'm assuming he felt that Ricky Puig perhaps not ready physically against. Once Sevilla had tightened up and gone to sent on Julen and gone to 3 at the back. Look, Setien's not somebody who's going to go and change systems. He might change personnel, but the philosophy remains the same. And I think on this day, I think it's more about giving credit to Sevilla for the way they played in the second half. I saw improvements, but relative to the 2 previous wins from Barcelona, but that probably says more about the opposition and, as Jules said, about Messi.
Jules, how telling is this? You look at this run-in, away against Sevilla, you could argue the biggest test. Antoine Griezmann's on the bench for this game.
Yeah, and you could always say that he started the first 2 games, although he was taken off in each of them, and then maybe because he hadn't played for 3 months, and apart from Messi, everybody else, there was some kind of rotation there and there. I don't know, but I can understand why he's on the bench. I can't understand why it takes you 77 minutes in a game where it's 0-0, where clearly you need a bit of spark, or at least you need to change something or try something a bit different because it wasn't working. And then you leave him on the bench for so long. And Ansu Fati, even more, if you're not keen on Griezmann, and he hasn't been very good in the first 2 games, but Ansu Fati had a very good game against Leganés, scored a very nice goal, and then you leave him on the bench for the whole game even. And I don't know. I'm not so sure really about Quique Setien's tactics and choices tonight.
It's a big head scratcher. As Jules mentioned, Ansu Fati, of course, excellent against Leganés, doesn't even feature today. Is Quique Setien, is he out of his depth here, Gam?
Again, I'm assuming there's some sort of issue, perhaps with his fitness, with not wanting him to play too many games or too many minutes.
But it's away against Sevilla. This is a big game.
It's an odd one.
It's a proper match. This is a game that if you're going to win the title, if he won it today, Barca are big favourites. Yet they've really opened the door now for Real Madrid. I know they didn't lose, but it's a goalless draw. You start Braithwaite. Ansu Fati doesn't come on. Griezmann, 13 minutes to go. It just didn't seem to make any sense. It's like Quique Setien scared to make the decisions that are happening in-game.
And he starts Martin Braithwaite. Don't forget, that's the flip side of it. And no disrespect, but those are big calls that he's making. I just think one of Setien's strengths clearly isn't adjusting, and he's trying to channel the pass and sending Gerard Piqué up at the end to play center forward in the last 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, seriously, this is your big innovation late on to win games. If that crap worked, you would have played Piqué up front from the first minute, right? It's this kind of confusion that's there. Stick to what you know, believe in that system, and then carry it through. But then that's not what happens during the games. It's almost like we have this blueprint where it's for 80 minutes, we're going to knock the ball around, try to create something. And like I said, I think they did it well at the start of the first half. But then when that doesn't work, let's come up with this very original idea that Pep was doing 10 years ago of putting Piqué up front. It's a tough spot for him. But like I said, I think there was progress today relative to the previous two games. What that means going forward, I don't know, because I'm assuming you're going to ask about what this means for the title race or whatever. I'll tell you right now what it means. We don't know. All we know is that they finish level on points, then Real Madrid takes it. But I would expect many more twists and turns. It's not as simple as looking at the league table, because I think the heat and this and then this calendar, this fixture, the rhythm of the games, one after the other, I think it's really going to take its toll, and I think there will be more twists and turns. Before we
return to the title race, Jules, I just want to bring up the point that you were very much the number one person in the world going, get rid of Valverde, and now you're questioning Setien as well. Maybe it's just the players.
Well, there's no doubt the players have some part of responsibility in the. I mean, they're still top of the table in La Liga, and they're still qualifying in the Champions League, and they have a second leg last 16 to play. So it's not all dramatic, but I still expect them to play better than that. And I know Quique Setien is trying to get this team to play better. I agree with Gab. I mean, they had 65% of possession today. The first half hour, I thought the passing was better. The counter press was better than we saw against Leganés and especially against Mallorca. So you could see the improvement, I think, between what Quique Setien is trying to do and what Valverde was doing, especially towards the end of his tenure. But you're right, the players for sure are partly to blame as well. And if you take Messi out of that team, and obviously this is a big part of the team, but I think the rest of them, there's not many that really have played at the level the whole season. And Ter Stegen, probably the only one, really.
Let's talk about the title then. You take a look at the odds, and the bookies can't separate them. 11-10 on both of them. 3 points of difference. Real Madrid in action on Sunday. Don't forget that in La Liga, it's head-to-head. So if it ends level on points, Real Madrid will be crowned champions because, of course, they beat Barcelona at the Bernabeu. Jules, Gab says there's going to be lots of twists, that we shouldn't get too carried away with this. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree. I think there are a lot of games where you could go, especially in the current context, where you can go and easily drop points. Although I thought Real Madrid were impressive at Valencia, I have to say, even if the first half was quite even, the second half, I thought they were fantastic. I like what Zidane did in his formation. And I like the confidence and the momentum that they're getting at the moment, which is the complete opposite, really, to Barcelona. And Gerard Piqué came on Spanish television after the game tonight and said, if we keep playing like we did those 3 games, there's no way we can win this title. And I think he knows pretty well. He knows that if Real Madrid drop points, one, they won't drop many. And secondly, you are not allowed to have another of those performances like you had tonight and drop more points, because if you keep doing that, then the title is theirs for sure. So I think it would be fascinating. I think it's a real shame we don't have another Clásico. I would have loved to see a Clásico like in a couple of weeks or something. But both have been played, and like you said, Real are ahead in those 2 games. But I think Barca would have to be very, very careful not to make sure that they don't drop many more points, because I think that if Real do drop more points, and I think they might well do, they won't drop many.
Feel free to walk out, Gab. I know it's late. You can go to bed if you like. Last thing, who will win La Liga, Mr. Marcotti?
I don't know who's coming. I'm going to lean Real Madrid because they have the tiebreaker. But like I've said already, there will be twists and turns. the reason I'm leaning Real Madrid is that I just think they have depth and more options. And I think it's going to be a real factor, both fatigue and potential injuries between now and the end of the season. I think really apart from Casemiro and possibly Benzema, if you look at midfield and attack, they simply have fewer players who are irreplaceable or really difficult to replace relative to Barcelona, where if Busquets, even with his limitations, goes out, let alone Messi, we saw how much fun it was playing without Suarez. I just think Barcelona have more issues in that one. And also, can I give a shout out to Marco Asensio, back and scores a goal?
Yes.
I have no idea what his fitness levels are like, whether he can play 90 minutes.
That was on yesterday's show,
just
Gab.
even looking at the attack.
I just want to know who was going to win. Right, Real Madrid, overall. Lots of injuries, squad depth, good. A lot of more Gab waffling on. You can listen to the latest edition of the Gab and Jules podcast, which is available now over on the website. Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.